Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting through all the noise, getting straight to what really matters from our latest sources.
Yeah, this time it's the June 21st, 27th, 2025 edition of The Economist.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, your essential briefing on, well, what's actually shaping the world right now.
Absolutely. And what really jumped out at me, is the sheer range this week. You've got global politics, big economic shifts, the whole AI explosion, and even how society is changing. We're going to pull out those connections, those facts that make you go, okay, I see.
Yeah, our goal, like always, is to help you understand not just what's happening, but the why it matters, how it all kind of fits together.
Right.
So let's get right into it. Okay, first up, that cover story really grabs you, doesn't it? The headline, "How will this end?"
Yeah, and that image, the torn Iranian flags,
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
It sets the perfect stage for our first big topic, the escalating tensions in the Middle East.
And what's fascinating, or maybe revealing, is how the sources really dig into the history. It's not just about recent events, like the October 7th attack,
Right, it goes way back.
decades back. The analysis suggests this first Iran-Israel war, as they call it, might actually be a really long conflict, possibly decades.
Decades, wow.
Yeah, with Israel hitting Iranian targets and Iran, well, strategically pushing its nuclear program forward. The sources say Iran now has 400 kilograms of uranium,
Okay.
enriched to 60% purity, which, the IAEA warns is
A short hop to weapons grade.
exactly a short hop. The key thing here, the sources argue, is that this isn't just isolated incidents. It's a deep, long-term regional shift.
That's pretty sobering. And it brings us to the U.S. policy mess, right? The sources lay out these dilemmas.
Should they try for a deal or deterrence or even regime change?
Yeah, they mention people like Karim Sajjadpour. He seems to think the Iranian regime is, well, maybe shaky, close to collapse.
Yeah, that view is in there. And if you look at the bigger picture, you see how Iran's internal problems, protests, the currency tanking,
Right.
are all tangled up with what it does externally, supporting groups like the Houthis, Hezbollah.
It's all connected.
Totally. And the maps and the sources, they really highlight the oil and gas infrastructure there. It just underlines how much is at stake, globally speaking.
And it's not just the Middle East, is it? The sources also touch on other global hotspots.
Yeah, briefly, like Ukraine trying to get more foreign fighters. Yeah.
And Europe finally trying to meet that NATO 2% defense spending target. It seems like everyone's boosting defense.
Well, it points to this bigger shift, doesn't it? The
Yeah.
nature of war is changing. High-tech conflict.
You mean like drones?
Exactly.
Oh.
The sources talk about drones being used way more in African conflicts. Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali.
Okay.
You've got Turkish TB2s, Chinese drones. And it's having a huge impact on civilians, obviously. But also, it changes the whole cost-benefit thing for military action.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears. Let's talk economy. Some pretty big waves happening there, too.
Definitely. Brent crude oil is up $84 a barrel.
Highest since October 23, right?
Yep. And a big part of that seems to be the Houthi attacks messing with shipping in the Red Sea.
And the Panama Canal drought, too, apparently.
Right, that's contributing. And what's interesting is the knock-on effects. Japan, for instance.
Oh, yeah. What's happening there?
Well, the sources really unpack their ongoing struggles, low interest rates sticking around, and this potential bond market plague, they call it.
Bond market plague. Sounds ominous.
It basically means their huge government debt could become a real problem, like unsustainable, threatening stability.
Gotcha.
Plus, you have that whole Nippon Steel trying to buy U.S. steel thing, hitting roadblocks, America first feelings getting in the way.
So, taking all that in, what's the bigger picture for the global economy? What does it all mean?
I think it means navigating some really complex links. Dependencies. Look at China.
Mixed signals there,
Yeah.
right? Totally. They're trying to boost spending with this big voucher program, 30 billion yuan.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Property market's still struggling, and youth unemployment.
exactly, still big problems. And then, complicating everything even more, are China's military ties with Russia. Selling them drones, microelectronics. That has huge implications for trade, geopolitics, everything.
Okay, wow. From geopolitics and economics, let's jump to AI. It feels like it's just everywhere now,
It really is.
including advertising. The sources use this phrase, computers versus cockroaches. What's that about?
Yeah, it's catchy. It's basically about how AI, especially generative AI, is completely shaking up the ad world.
How so?
Well, think about creating ads, targeting ads. AI is transforming it for Meta, TikTok, Google, YouTube, all the big guys.
So it's making ads better, more effective.
Yeah, the return on ad spend is going up significantly, according to the sources. But and this is the deeper point. It's sparking these huge debates about jobs. Creative jobs potentially being displaced.
Yeah.
AI isn't just a tool anymore. It's like a co-creator.
That raises some big questions about, well, human creativity in the future.
Exactly. And beyond just ads, the sources touch on other AI stuff too. Research into AI reasoning, problem solving, and that whole safety versus reliability debate in AI development, it's critical.
And didn't they mention OpenAI working with the Pentagon, Project Maven?
Yeah, a quick mention. That's about using AI to analyze drone footage. Military intelligence stuff shows how embedded AI is becoming, even in defense.
Okay, let's pivot again. Let's look at society. Some interesting trends there, too, starting with the baby bust.
Ah, yes, the global drop in birth rates.
What are the sources saying about why that's happening?
Well, they dig into a few factors. More women working, obviously, but also people just having kids later.
Right.
Like in the U.S., the average age for a first kid is now 27. It was 20 back in 1994. Big jump.
Wow.
And they look at how governments are reacting. Like Hungary under Orban, pushing these pro-baby policies, trying to get closer to that 2.1 replacement rate.
The rate needed to keep the population stable.
Okay.
Yes. Then there's a pretty provocative question the sources raise. Why many blue states are poorly run?
Yeah, that one definitely catches the eye. It points to this kind of paradox.
Also.
In some U.S. states, usually seen as progressive, California, New York, places like that, they spend a lot of money, but still struggle with huge issues. Homelessness, cost of living, inequality.
Right. You hear about that a lot.
So the analysis tries to unpack why. It looks at proposed fixes, like congestion pricing in cities.
Charging cars to drive downtown, basically.
Yeah. But it also points to maybe deeper systemic things, like the power of public sector unions, maybe. The sources try to just present the data impartially, to understand these really complex city problems.
It's important to look at the data, for sure. Okay, our final societal topic, another question. Can men and women just be friends?
This section dives into research by David Kretschmer about socialization and how men and women sometimes see cross-gender friendships very differently.
Okay.
And if you zoom out a bit, the sources talk about concepts like the sexual marketplace.
Right, this idea that people kind of evaluate potential partners based on value.
Sort of, yeah. That's the framework they discuss. And they also touch on related online communities, things associated with incel culture.
Involuntary celibates.
Right. And the manosphere, those anti-feminist online spaces. Figures like Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate get mentioned in this context.
Okay.
And just to be clear, our goal here is just to report on what the source material says about these things. Understand the phenomena as they're presented, not endorsing any of it.
Understood. Important clarification. And quickly before we wrap up, a couple of surprising health facts.
Yeah, just quick ones. The sources detail menopause, but also the debate around so-called male menopause or andropause.
Interesting.
And a really startling stat from India, 50,000 deaths a year from snake bites.
50,000. Wow, that's a huge public health issue.
A massive, often overlooked one, yeah.
Okay, what an incredible deep dive today. We've really covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We really have.
From, the Middle East power shifts to AI changing everything to how we relate to each other. It just shows how connected everything is.
It absolutely does. And what's really insightful, I think, is seeing these threads. Oil markets, AI progress, population dynamics, they're not separate boxes.
No.
They all weave together into this incredibly complex picture. Global challenges, opportunities. Understanding those links feels, well, essential for figuring out what's next.
So the question for you listening in is, what does this all mean for you, given how fast things are changing, how interconnected it all is? How might these trends we've talked about actually converge? How might they reshape your daily life in, say, the next 5 years, maybe in ways we don't even see coming yet?
Yeah, something to really think about.
Definitely something to mull over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring.